Welcome back to the next episode of our Meet the Mentor series here at MentorME. I've got the absolute pleasure of welcoming Chris from FBA Swifty. So do you want to introduce yourself, Chris?
Yeah, thank you, mate. Hi, I'm FBA Swifty. It's good to be here. I've been selling on Amazon for a couple of years now. So I went full time straight from the beginning and just committed to it. Decided that this is going to be it and it's going to work for me. And then that was it. Really, everything else is history from there. Just been working away, trying to get it to be like better, get it to be something which is a proper business that I can support my family from.
Perfect. Well, exciting. Obviously, I know I do Amazon as well, so it's always exciting to speak to an Amazon seller. And you're the first actual Amazon mentor that we've had here today. So really excited to hear a bit more about what took you into your Amazon journey. Obviously, I know you said you worked in 9 to 5. What was the sort of experience? What was the moment that made you think, okay, I need to move out of my job. I want to start my own business and I want to provide for myself. So what was that point in your sort of experience that made you change?
I think that the probably point happened somewhere around the time when all the lockdowns were happening, and in that period of time, because obviously it's a bit of a funny old time. I've had background of working for Halfords, and then that was what I was doing at around about those times. But my store was closed, and I was actually made to work from home. So I was at home trying to do some work.
How does that work with Halfords?
Well, it was very tricky. They basically made me work as part of the customer service team, and so I was sat at home on a computer trying to act as a like a virtual assistant, basically.
Not enjoying it.
Not what I did really. I was used to sort of being a store manager and running stores, running teams, and then now my store's been closed. The whole thing was, it was an interesting time. But what I realised is that being at home meant that I was like closer to my children. I was able to see them. I've got 2 little boys they're 5 and 6 now. So having quality time with those boys is the most important thing to me. And I just became aware that I'm spending more and more time in work, leaving in the morning at maybe 7 o'clock, coming home and they might be in bed at night time.
Yeah.
It's a real drain, I think, on your soul as a father if you don't get to see your children. And that was something that I knew I wanted to change, and I just felt it for a really long time. I felt it burning inside of me that I knew I could do more, and I really believe I had the capability to run a business and be self-employed or do something on my own, and I just really wanted to do it. So that's the thing that drove me really, is just wanting to have more quality time. Around a similar time I went through a divorce as well, so it's a bit of a difficult time for me. So I've really been leveled as an adult. I've been I was owning a property before, I'm now back into a rented property. I'm getting to see my kids a lot more, but I've been put into an uncomfortable situation, and I actually think it's really great to be in an uncomfortable situation, because that gives me a fire. That there's a real fire underneath me. I have to provide for my children. I have to provide for myself. I don't have any safety net. I've just got to do it. And I think that's a good place to be in, because it gives you a real drive that I think maybe other people don't necessarily have, but it will really spur you on to do more.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I think it's also one of the things. Obviously, I've got a baby on the way, so I know I can definitely already see it. And I mean, I come from a corporate background where you would work 9 till, they say 9 till 5, but it's not ever 9 till 5. You take your work home with you, especially in the roles that I've been in. So it's something that I'm conscious of, that I want to make sure that I'm home, I can provide for myself. And also it's having the ability to decide how much money you're going to earn this month because of how much work that you put in. Maybe this month you want to take your kids away on holiday, and your business is actually making money because it's Amazon, it sells online. You can go away for a week and still make money. It's not like you have to worry. It's definitely an important point, I think. And I guess, what took you specifically into Amazon? Because there's, obviously, you said you had that decision to make. There's a lot of different things that you could have gone in. Maybe you could have gone down the drop shipping route. You could have gone down day trading. You could have gone property with rent to rent and things. What took you specifically into Amazon FBA?
It's a really good question. So I looked at loads of different things. And I was probably much like everyone else when we're spending a lot of time at home scrolling through TikTok and looking online. I learned about Amazon, and it just, from the first thing I heard about it, I really aligned with it. It felt like something that was that I could do. Obviously, with my background, I've always worked in retail stores pretty much since I was 16. So I quickly got my way to being the top and being a store manager, but I still spent a lot of time in retail stores. So taking in deliveries, moving pallets around, merchandising things, customer service,
Ordering
selling
stuff from warehouses as well. Yeah.
all kinds of stuff like that, even to the extent, of hiring people. All of that sort of stuff is what I was doing. So really the skill set that I developed from like a retail role, I realized was absolutely perfect for doing this.
Yeah.
And it is like a duck to water. As soon as I'm opening boxes and packaging things up, it feels very like muscle memory, normal to what I've been doing before. So it wasn't like this huge change, but from the point that I started, like the goal really was that I realized I hated my job. I hate standing on the till. I hate offering out a 5p bag. I hate being forced to ask for an email address off every customer, and just being made to do things that you don't necessarily agree with, and they're not necessarily even sensible. And what was really like such a freeing feeling, it's sort of like a caterpillar, sort of turning into a butterfly, was coming out of that period of time, and feeling like I've shed the job, I've shed the responsibility, I've shed all the horrible emails and things I didn't want to do, and now I can focus on the important things. It's really like find a product, order it, get it in, put some stickers on it, pop it in a box and send it off. It's so simple, and that's really all you're doing. And then you're able to do that and cut out all of that stuff from before and actually have a life where you don't have any stress. Like I really don't feel that much stress. I think stress comes from being made to do things that you're not passionate about.
Yeah, not wanting to do, exactly.
When you're following something that like you want to do and it's sort of self-led, then I think that's really, it's like passion and it's it's enthusiasm, and you want to do it. And I do work really hard. I probably work harder now than I did before. I put a lot more time into it, but it gives me the freedom to have a day off. And if I'm feeling poorly, I can spend the day in bed. If I want a weekend with my kids, I can do that, and I don't have to ask for anyone. And I think just having made that transition away from being reliant on somebody else to give me money every month so I could survive, to now being able to pay myself, like that is just such a big change.
Very fulfilling as well.
And that is possible for anyone. So anyone who's watching and thinking that they're not happy in their job and they they want to be able to do something else, it's absolutely possible. I really like the idea that everything that exists today, it's all come from a thought. Everything was a thought, even whether it was something big like a building or a car, or whether it was purely changing jobs or something personal. Like we've all got the capacity to do something different and change paths in life. And I hope that I can inspire people to look at me and think like, yeah, I can relate to that. I'm in a job now that I don't like, and I want to do something different. I don't know how to do it. And really like what you talk about a lot, I think the best thing is start it alongside your job, start something else, learn, have a plan, and just gradually execute. And you'll get to a point where you're able to stop doing that job that you don't like and actually, be
full-time in your passion.
Independent. And I think just being independent from, having to rely on somebody else, I think it's such a big difference for how you feel as a person. I think it makes you feel quite submissive if you have a job and you have to work for somebody else, whereas you feel like more of a leader of your own life if you're sort of self-employed, and you're carving your own path. That there is a really much nicer feeling that comes with that. And I honestly think once you've made that change, then you wouldn't go back to working for somebody else, because it's like the principle of it. I just wouldn't work for somebody else. If what I'm doing now was to fail, I'd find something else that I can do on my own.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurs, after they've started something, they can't ever go back into working for somebody else. So I guess, like, obviously talking about like working for yourself now, but how did you find the transition? Because you didn't go straight into full-time with Amazon, did you? You worked alongside it. So
I went full-time because my old job made me redundant, which I heavily opted for, because they were trying to give me options and talk to me, and I thought this is like a sign from the universe it's like a golden ticket to get out. And you can imagine how I was feeling. I really hate being in this. Yeah. And they're basically saying like,
here's some money.
We'll give you 10 grand and we'll let you leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, amazing. Like, if I could have asked the universe for anything to start Amazon in the perfect way,
that was it.
I basically found something, learned about it, felt up for it, and then the universe has just said, oh, your job's a problem and you haven't got any money. Here you go.
Here's Amazon.
Go for it, mate.
So what was so obviously we spoke sort of about like choosing Amazon, but had you already started looking at side hustles at that point when you were offered the redundancy, or was it something that was sort of, okay, now I need to do this because I'm not going to get paid otherwise? What was sort of the decision to actually pick that up instead of go for another job? Was it something you'd already been looking at before the redundancy? or was it something that sort of came about after the redundancy?
I'd say probably for years I had a feeling of being in my old job that I felt like I was capable of doing more.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, I'm already running the store, and so the options for me at that point would have been to try and go up into field management and be like an area manager, something like that. And I'm looking at those guys, and like, yeah, they earn a bit of money, might have a nice car that's provided to them, but really they look trapped to me. They look absolutely trapped. They're on the computer all the time. And I didn't want the life. I was looking at my boss thinking, I don't want the life that he's got.
Traveling to all the different
He's
areas,
constantly having to travel around. There's just the amount of stress that I can see that comes down. You know, something happens somewhere in the landscape and then you're dealing with that stress. Someone's making a fuss about something, so now you're worried about it too. And the whole load of that is just drama that I don't need in my life. I don't need that energy. I just want to be happy, focus on making money, and just enjoy my life. I just don't need all this nonsense. So realizing that I wanted to be away from that, I think was all the driving factor that was propelling me along. But once I realized that the skills that were needed to do it were very, very simple things that I was going to be able to do. And I do think there's quite a lot of different skills that you need to have. So it's not necessarily for everybody. Like if you're not very good with the computer, you might struggle with this. But there's definitely bits that you need to sort of pick up. There'll be things you need to develop. But it's...
I think anybody can do it though, right? I mean, the skills are very transferable, and I think when people go through mentoring and learn the skills of how to run an Amazon business, you can do it, like, because we're all taught the same thing. So obviously some differentiation, obviously people have personal touches that they add to their mentoring packages, but from Amazon as a whole, anybody can do it. It all comes down to yourself. Like, unless you've got the right drive and the right passion to keep going with it, you're going to fail. And I mean, I showed Ben, the videographer, actually how to sell on Amazon, and I think he done about product sourcing for a day and then has quit. So it just goes to show that it comes down to your own perseverance to push through that. Sorry, Ben.
I would say as well, like at the beginning, like I was like much the same, where it was super hard. And I remember I think I was saying to family members at the time when I was first starting to do it, and I was like, I can't find any products. I'm spending all day, I'm searching for products, and I'm just struggling to find them. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm struggling to do it. And there's a process that you're going to go through from being just dropped into difficulty where you're completely struggling and floundering to the point where little grass shoots start to move appear of things that might work. Like you found a product and it might work, and just making that decision to spend 100 quid or 300 quid on the first few products, and then when you see it sell and you think, oh, that's made me £1, like the first sale that you make, it really is like it's such a big feeling, because it's confirmation that this crazy idea that you had, actually it works. You've proved the concept now, and there's unlimited potential to how far you can go with it. There's some people, I see accounts who are doing over 7 million per 7-day period. Jesus, so like shout out to Amazon Lit, they're somebody I look at, and it's that's where I'd like to be in the future. I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing 7 figures a month, absolutely. But there's no rush to be able to kind of get to those things. You can obviously build it up.
Well, I think with that, right, like, I mean, if you drop somebody in that hasn't done 6 figures a month or 7 figures a month, it's very difficult to scale straight to that point. Like, I mean, if you go somebody in an Amazon store that was doing 7 figures a month, they're going to fail because they've not gone through the basics and built that process. The whole point of building your Amazon business is you go through a mentoring, you learn the basics and the foundation, and then you can grow and grow and grow, because you can't just dive straight into the deep end, because you will drown, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you touched on it there, and I think, like, your first sale on Amazon, like, it's so fulfilling seeing the money that you've earned. And I remember my first one, I'd done a test order of some like Apollo housewares. They were like black kitchen towel holders, right? I was selling those. That was my first order. I think I ordered 40 of them and like 50 dishwasher drainers or something. And I made, on the first day, I saw the first sale come in. Obviously, it takes a little while for Amazon to check everything in, but like I had 10 go in. First day sold 2. They were like $7.99, and I made like £1 each. I was like, oh my God, I made £2. Like, I mean, £2 not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but like just seeing those first sales, I was so sort of proud with the way that like that had come about, because that's something that I've spent time in and effort on by myself to find those products, send them in, and build that business. I found that very rewarding. It sounds like you did as well, right?
Absolutely, it was amazing. And I'd go even further now to say what I've recently done is get an unbranded product, and I've designed a brand name and a logo and registered that and put that onto a product and put that onto Amazon and actually had something sell where I've done everything. I've taken the photos myself. I've made the listing. I've made sure everything's all, optimized and looking great. And to have taken something from that conceptual stage to popping it onto Amazon and getting a sale, that's like a similar feeling, but I think even a little bit better because you've done so much more. Obviously, with the fundamental of wholesale model, you're generally finding something that's already selling well, and then just grabbing it, sending it into the listing. So it's really simple.
How have you found that? Because obviously wholesale is your bread and butter. It's also what you do for mentoring.
Yeah.
But you've now started to venture into private label. For people that are watching this and aren't that familiar with Amazon, obviously wholesale is where you buy from suppliers. They can be in the UK or across the world, but you're buying branded products. Whereas with private label, you're buying unbranded stuff, probably from China on Alibaba or AliExpress, branding it and creating your own listings on Amazon, running ads. How have you found that and starting that? How have you found that, not transition because you're still doing the wholesale model, but how have you found that new adventure and that new challenge of selling private label?
Well, I'm always posting stuff anyway. I'm really into it on Amazon, and I really like doing what I'm doing anyway, but this has just injected a whole load of new passion on top. So I am just absolutely I'm all about it at the moment. I'm usually working in the day, and when I get home I'm probably doing a bit more as well, but it's stuff that I really want to be doing because I'm thinking of what new kind of product ideas have I got, and I'm looking at suppliers and I'm ordering things, and the range of stuff I'm doing is so different now to what I was doing before. And I think for people at home who maybe don't know the difference, the main thing, if you've got something that's private label, you're not going to have any competitors on it, and in theory that's a sellable asset. If you build something that's selling a certain amount, you'd actually be able to sell that. Either as a business or as a brand, you could sell that. And there are companies out there who look to buy brands, and again, there are people who just build Amazon businesses and brands just purely to sell them, and then they rinse and repeat. So I think unlocking the ability to be able to make a new product and make a new brand and make it succeed on Amazon, I think as a skill set that is extremely valuable, much more valuable than just knowing about wholesale. Obviously I still know about wholesale, I can still do that as well, but I just think having the knowledge to be able to say create your own listing, which I didn't have before, it's actually it's quite
useful to have.
Well, it's very useful to have to do it. I think there's quite a bit to learn, but anything is achievable, anything's doable. So if it's something that sort of interests people, I would definitely recommend learning more about it.
Yeah, I think as well with like the whole private label scene, I think when people hear about selling on Amazon, they either think of the TikToks where they see people going in B&M or the Range or clearance sections at TK Maxx and going, right, I'm going to do a bit of arbitrage and take stuff from the store, scan it, send it. Or they think about buying from Alibaba. I think obviously wholesale's starting to come out a bit more, but I think everyone sees those two sort of the main sort of venues. It's like if you come in with no sort of viewpoint. And I mean, I'd like to get your take on it. Like, where do you think people should start with Amazon? Like, personally, for myself, I think wholesale offers you the full range of actually building an Amazon business. It gives you the building blocks to actually fund private label, because private label is a lot more expensive. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting. I think it's important to remember, because people like to make these really strong statements about, like retail arbitrage is no good or wholesale. Everything can succeed.
Yeah.
So there are people who are running multi-million-pound arbitrage businesses, and they've found a way that it works for them. And again, there are people doing, probably £1 million days doing wholesale businesses. Whatever you can imagine, there's probably people doing more than that, succeeding at that element. So there are room for anyone to succeed on anything. But in my opinion, what I found when I was doing arbitrage, if I go into a shop like a Tesco's and I pick up 4 of something on a shelf, or even 20 of something on a shelf, it's only 20. And it's a bit of a pain for me to have to drive around different stores collecting things. And for me, that didn't seem to work as well. What I really like about wholesale is that I can go to, say, a supplier, I can buy those same 20 units, but then when they sell out, I can just contact them, have another 20 sent through. And, when you get to the point where you're ordering, like thousands of units, or you're having pallets arriving and stuff, that's great, because it can all come in on one day. You have a couple of days of heavy work, which for me, I just allocate that for when I haven't got my kids. So I get into the unit, do some work, send it all off, and then I can go back to being a dad again. And then while that stuff's in, Amazon's going to take care of it for me. So I think that's great. But you can't sell a wholesale business. It's not a sellable asset. So yes, it will turn over money, but you're going to have a lot of problems with competition with other people. And, you know, you need to be probably a little bit more aggressive. Probably you want to be using a reprice and, you know, a strategy to be able to not get taken advantage of by people who undercut you by a penny. So there's a load of stuff going on with it, but I think, like, for me, I think wholesale's a really great business, and there's a relatively low barrier to entry because you can pretty much just anyone can open an account. You might need to have a business, but it's very easy to open a company. It's very easy to open accounts. You need to find products, send them in. So I think with private label, if you get something that's going really well, like, this is one of those things that could become a, you know, a 7 or 8 figure payday for you if you've created something.
I just think private label requires a lot more skills compared to wholesale. Just in terms of the way with wholesale, you learn the fundamentals, I think, of selling on Amazon is the way I see it. And then private label is something that comes next, just because private label costs more with ads. Like, you could buy a private label product from Alibaba. I mean, I haven't done it personally, so I mean, you can talk more about it, I guess, from your experience in terms of the way you find products, how you validate them before. Because when you're selling wholesale stuff, you know, at the very worst point, you're going to make your money back because you're selling on products that are already selling. So it makes a lot of sense, I think, for people that want to start on Amazon. They either go down the wholesale route or potentially retail arbitrage if they want to just sort of dip their toe into it. Because I just think private label can be a very costly mistake if you go directly into private label without learning those basic fundamentals of selling on Amazon. So
yeah.
I guess, obviously, from your Amazon journey, you're sort of done the wholesale thing, that's going successful, you've got your unit, you're building your Amazon business, you're going into private label. What would you say the challenges are that, you know, some of your mentees and people that are getting started in Amazon are facing when they're new to Amazon? What are those challenges that you think are there?
I think the first one's probably just like product sourcing, because that's really one of the most important things you can do. I think it's really important for people to note, though, with these type of businesses, everything can be outsourced. So if you don't want to prep, you can either use a prep center or you can hire people to work for you and then have it in-house. But you can get out of that. If you don't want to do product sourcing, you can hire a VA in Thailand to work for you for much more competitive price than you would find from a UK employee. And, you know, you could have a team of 5 people working for you finding products if you wanted that. So there's ways to overcome any of the challenges by outsourcing. But I think before you do that, you need to know what you're doing. I think it's really important to learn everything properly. And then once you're starting from a position of authority, if you have someone helping you, they're really just taking out the slow work and then maybe bringing you a list of 10 strong leads. And then you can sit down with that list of 10 strong leads and you'll probably be able to make buys from that list. Whereas you may have spent, you know, a lot more time if you were doing all of the legwork yourself. So if you can say to people, like, give me a list of things that have like this many monthly sales, this much profit, this much ROI, and they're just being sent through to you, you know, that's something which a lot of people invest in. Personally, I still do everything myself.
Okay, yeah.
At the
You're
moment,
not using a VA.
Not using a VA. I think in the future, what I'd quite like to be able to do would be to bring my partner into the business with me. So I'm training her up about things and she's sort of learning while she still has a job. And when it makes sense, then maybe we can bring her across and then she could do that as well. And I think it'd be a nice way for us to be able to spend our days together and actually, you know, have time together, but we could still pop out to the pub or something and have kind of a more of a chilled life.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we all aspire to, isn't it? I think everyone defines success very differently. You know, I really hate people that say, you know, that they look at people's success and think they can't get it because success is very different for each person. I think it's quite nice for you to be able to sort of build out your business and achieve the goals that you want, whether or not that is millions and billions and trillions, whatever it is, or maybe it's a few extra thousand a month. I think people can do that with the Amazon wholesale model. And I think it is one of the only side hustles, I think, where you can do that. Obviously, I think other side hustles maybe have a bit more of a commitment. Obviously, with property, you tend to own the property. There's a lot more maintenance. If you know, some jobs may be sort of more that might fit them a bit better. But I think Amazon's definitely a good starting point. So for mentoring then and how people get started in Amazon, what is your mentoring program? How do people get started?
So what I do is I'll teach people how to sell using a wholesale model. We'll also talk a little bit about retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, but really for anyone who wants to come and work with me, like they should know that I've spent my time really on wholesale. That's really what I'm the most knowledgeable about, and that's what I can teach you the best about. There are, like I say, people who are really really big in the arbitrage space, and they're going to be better at that type of thing. That's not really my area of specialism. And again, like with with private label, I'm learning about it, but it's not really my area of specialism yet. It's just me trying something new. But with wholesale, I've just designed a package which it's broken it down over 5 weeks. So the thing that I really wanted to do is not have any wasted time for people. I want to get people up and running as soon as possible, using software as soon as possible because it's essential. You absolutely cannot run an Amazon business without software. You sometimes see videos that sort of mislead you into seeing things online. It does frustrate me when there's a lot of things you'll see where people they oversimplify it and make it seem like it's too easy. It is quite complicated and it is hard work. You also do need money to do this. There's a relationship between how much sales you're going to get on Amazon and how much you put in. And a lot of people say it's around about half. So you put in 10 grand, you might make 20 grand's worth of sales. But if you don't have that 10 grand, you're not going to get those results. So I think I've heard that saying as well before. And I think it's really relevant to this. Comparison is the thief of joy. When we're online and you see other people and you see other people's sales, you might see someone who's done, 100 grand or 500,000 in their first year or something. That has come from money. So whether they've leveraged debt or whether they've put something else in, something has been paid to enable that amount of sales. They're not going to just come because you're really good at Amazon. Like there is a relationship between, and I think people who start out when they have a low amount of money, then just getting started and being able to build it up, it is a path that you can take. It's going to take you longer, but what I found is that when you start seeing success, and you're getting some sales now, and then you stumble across a product that just looks really great, it just falls into place where there was a time for me, I think, where I had something, and at the time I would think I was borrowing money off of anyone who would lend it to me just so I could get about 6 grand's worth of sort of catering products ordered, and I was really taking a big punt at that point, but I just had a feeling that it was right. And I sent that in, and then I had my best month ever, and that was sort of a few months after starting, and I did about 8 grand in a month, and that was a point where I was like, this is crazy. I've just gone to a main manufacturer's website that anyone can go to. I've bought loads of something which they give away for cheap, and I'm selling it for, and I'm selling like maybe 50 a day or something like that, and it's really crazy to just see like just reams of orders on your phone, and every one represents like £2.50 or something. So it's really good.
I think that's really important. So that's all about your mentoring program, but how can people book in with you and how can people get started?
So if you go to the MentorME website, then you'll see my profile which is on there. There's a load of information which is on there. So that's really the best way to be able to sort of go ahead and just get booked in. Obviously, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram as well at FBA Swifty. I'm happy to take questions from people. That's one of the nice things about it for me, is to be able to help other people. But feel free to sort of send a DM or anything like that. But just go onto the MentorMe website, have a look, and I would urge you to look at all the other different mentors. I am quite happy for you to look and choose the person who's right for you. I would rather work with people who see that I'm a good fit for them and they want to work with me. I absolutely don't want to sort of try and encourage people to work with me if you don't think that I'm the right fit. So you've got lots of different choices on MentorMe. There's I think you've got, if you look at someone like Jack the Entrepreneur, he did about a 10 grand day last week, which is absolutely amazing. I'd love to get to that point in the future. That stuff really inspires me, but I'm not at that level yet. So if you're looking for someone who's going to teach you how to do that, then he's a great person for that. If you're someone who's like me and you just want to be able to get something like this started and transition to doing it and potentially leave your job, that's what I'm doing. That's what I do every day. I don't really do anything else. I'm just in Amazon all the time. So I'm really passionate about it. I like talking about it, and it's really a special interest for me. Like I'm an autistic guy, so like autistic special interests, we get really into it, and we'll know loads of details about everything, and I like to know everything. So there's a lot of information I've got, and I'm passionate about talking about it. So anyone who's interested, it'd be great to hear from you. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
So there will be a link in the bio of the video or wherever you're watching this. So feel free to head over to MentorME to book in with FBA Swifty. And the last thing I've got to say is thank you very much for coming on and being our first Amazon FBA mentor on here. Thank you.
Thank you.